Hey y'all, how y'all doing? All right, y'all. You know it's your girl Jamaica. I'm just look. Let me scoot back some. Let me get in here, get relaxed. How y'all doing? So y'all know I'm coming back to you. All right, let me stop being extra. Okay. So today, let me tell y'all my word for today is communication. So I was gonna talk about healing, I think, and whatever else. Y'all don't worry. I got to do what feels good to me. We're going to talk about communication. So I was in a couple of groups earlier where they were starting to talk about communication some. And then, of course, I was preparing for my class tomorrow. And in the class, we've been talking about communication, and it's going to go a little bit more in depth into, I guess, like what I'm going to talk to y'all about today. Kind of, sort of, not really, but it all goes together. So y'all always know I got my notes. Look, my handy dandy. I might gotta stop saying that, y'all. But anyway, I got my notebook, and then of course I typed up some of my notes. Like I said, I'm gonna be talking about this in my class, and so it is what it is. So I'm gonna be looking down. Y'all already know I looks around. Okay, get into that skin, baby. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all will get used to it. I'm gonna stop saying I'm sorry because I'm not. Um, but I do need not to be. All right, so that was my 2 minutes. Okay, so communication. Okay, so I looked at dictionary.com. I'm gonna tell y'all I did dictionary.com. I'm gonna give y'all the etymology, and then I'm gonna also do Webster's. Was it Webster's? Was that where I was at? Yeah. Webster's dictionary, because dictionary.com, they was on some other stuff. Okay, y'all. So dictionary.com says communication is the imparting or exchanging of information or news, right? So imparting means to provide to someone in a conversation. Same thing as, or exchanging. Exchanging means that it's going to be both ways instead of just one way of information or news. Means of sending or receiving information, such as phone lines or or computers. And when I read it, I was like, "That's all y'all got? Like y'all really done got that up to date? What communication is just on the phone, on the computer? Who does that? Okay, I mean, I know that's how we communicate. That's a part of it, but that ain't it. Okay, so then I kept reading. It says communication is this was Wikipedia. So it says communication is an apparent answer to the painful, I don't know why it got to be painful, but to the painful division between self and others, private and public, and inner thoughts and outer worlds. So when I kind of read the last piece, I could see how, there's this idea of painful, right? If you're trying to externalize what is going on internally to someone else, sometimes that can be very difficult for you, especially when we get down into the types of communication, especially depending on the way in which you communicate. And then, of course, it says the communication, private or public, and then it says between yourself. So what I notice is a lot of people do not have a conversation, do not communicate with themselves. So it makes it very difficult for you to communicate with someone else if you are not even being honest with yourself. So just throwing this out there, because remember I told y'all it's going to start picking up as I go along. If you don't like talking to you, what makes you think somebody else likes talking to you? And I mean, they might for a little while, but another piece of it is, if you can't tell yourself the truth, what make you think you gonna really be honest to somebody else? And that goes the other way around. If somebody is lying to themselves, what make you think they not gonna lie to you? They don't keep it 100 with them. But I digress. Okay, so Merriam-Webster says communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. See, this is where I like Merriam-Webster, because initially the first definition said through phone line or computer, but what a lot of people don't take into consideration is that you don't have to verbally communicate with someone or talk to someone in order for them to understand something. If I go like this, right? Okay, like I get what you're saying. Okay, you know that I'm saying okay. If I give you the thumbs up, you know it's a good go ahead. So there are signs, right? And then there's also symbols. So we're gonna get into that too. I think I talked to y'all about this a couple videos ago, where I'm gonna start talking about the ELA side, so English language arts sides of things, and how that translates into everything in life. So be ready for that. But symbols, so like if you see the golden arches, you know that's McDonald's. If you see a Toyota sign, you know that's Toyota. You know, it's certain things. And remember I told you about the mind, right? When you're learning, repetition, trauma, symbols. You can throw symbols out there and your subconscious mind is going to pick up on it, whether your conscious mind is aware or not. This is why we talked about the mind too. Let's continue. So it says, and I'm sorry y'all, but y'all know I'm trying to get better, but I still got to bring out the information, especially if I can still talk. If I'm talking, you know we good to go. So of course, again, Merriam-Webster says communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behaviors, or personal rapport. So a personal rapport. So that's like, you know your friend, and you know if your friend give you that look, you know that means that they lying. Okay, but that's because you built a rapport with that person. Or you know, it could be a business rapport, right? They know that you give good quality service, so they know that when they see you, you stand for quality. And so rapport is a friendly, harmonious relationship, a relationship characterized by agreements, mutual understanding, or empathy that makes communication possible or easy. So for myself, when I communicate with a lot of people, one, I try to be empathetic. I try to have a understanding of what it is that they go through, what it is that they're trying to convey. And I make it known that maybe I do not sympathize with you, right? Because not everyone needs your sympathy, but I should be able to understand to a certain extent what it is that you're trying to express and get across. And in my class, I was talking about that. One of the points that I made was that it's not always about a right or a wrong. And you guys, when I build a rapport with you, right, you get to know me, you'll understand that it's not always about me being right or wrong, but it's about bringing a certain type of understanding. Y'all, excuse the background noise if y'all can hear it. I am washing clothes, and you got to get it how you live, okay? Sorry. So the etymology of communication. So in Latin, it is communicar or communicare or communicato, however you want to say it, which means to share or impart or to make common, right? So all of this stuff goes together. In the early 15th century, it was the act of communicating, the act of imparting, discussing, debating, or conferring. So within communication, there's 4 types of communication. The first one is passive. So just to let y'all know, I done went through all of these types, especially growing up in my household. Usually in the African American household, and every household is different, but in mine, right, kids should be seen and not heard. I know y'all done heard that a lot, and that was real when I was growing up. If you even tried to attempt to part your lips while adults are having a conversation, you was gonna have a whole problem. We're not gonna get into it because I don't need y'all to be, judging me. Just know I done went through a whole lot of healing, and I get it. I understand. I ain't got no problems with it no more. No more. That's the key. No more. But there's passive communication. There's aggressive communication. There's passive aggressive communication. And then there's assertive. So I have gone through each one of these. And honestly, I've learned a little bit along the ways from each one. I want to give you guys a little synopsis of each. Then we're gonna go into nonverbal communication, and then I'm just gonna do a little talk. So, excuse me. The first one is passive communication, right? So, I'm sorry, y'all, but it happens. Sorry, deal with it. Not trying to be rude, but you wanna get this message. I'm just telling you. So, passive communication. Usually passive communication fails because it's usually a person or individual who is just like, oh, it is what it is. Like, I don't care. It's one of those people who say that they don't mind certain things, but then in the grand scheme of things, it's bothering them. And so that's kind of what it means to be passed over, almost. You get what I'm saying? And so what it says here is they fail to express their feelings or their needs, allowing others to express themselves. So usually they become angry because they're misunderstood, but they are not communicating. There's a lack of communication, and definitely 9 times out of 10, they do not know how to say no. And some people may take advantage of that, but when you go through your healing process, which, I think I started talking on that a little bit. I talked about shadow work, but when we get to healing, when you go through your healing process, you're going to need to learn how to say no and be a little more assertive, which we're going to get to that. So let me get back to these notes. So that's passive, right? Passive means, again, they fail to express their needs and feelings, and they allow others to express themselves. Usually they are misunderstood. They have a lot of anger and resentment towards individuals, and usually it's because they don't know how to say no. Number 2 is aggressive communication. So in aggressive communication, these people speak very loudly. They have a demanding voice, or we'll get to mannerisms later, but they may have intensive eye contact. They do a lot of blaming. They make people feel criticized. They might be very intimidating, and they can attack people's traits, right? And what they do is they believe that they are communicating themselves, but all they do is they focus on the other person's issues, right? They don't focus on the high attributes or the good things. They're just like, oh, well, I don't like how you did and blah, blah, blah. And they may have a lot of attitude, but they need work on learning how to communicate. And if that's you, it's okay. You need to work on it. Understand that that's you. Acceptance is number 1. Until you can accept the fact that some of this is you, if you can't do it, you won't heal. That's all I got to say. You can't accept it, you will not heal. All right, let's keep going. Number 3. Before I go, usually what happens too is they usually question a lot of stuff, and they do it rudely. They do not be like, oh, well, how can we help with X, Y, and Z? They're usually like, well, that's probably why da-da-da-da-da. And, they get this little pop off about them. And parents, listen, stop doing that to your children. Please. All right. So I have to be real sometimes. Y'all really do need to stop. Because you're killing your child's voice. You don't even have a voice. Then you're trying to figure out why your child don't want to talk to you later, and why you don't have a proper relationship with your children. Like, all of this leads back to you, and you got to fix you. And if you fix you early enough, then you can probably, get a couple of things together for your kids. But you can't fix nobody else until you fix you. All right, back at it. Number 3 is passive aggressive. So this was me as well. I told y'all I was all 4. I'm now a little more assertive. But passive aggressive, these are the people who, when they communicate, they feel that they're trying to confront the issue. but they really have difficulty dealing with their own angers, right? So they'll be like, oh, well, I don't mind, but this may happen. Somebody may not like X, Y, and Z. They kind of talk around the issue versus, again, saying, no, I don't like that. No, I don't appreciate this. I don't want to do that. They feel that they are communicating it because they may, like I said, talk around the situation, but they do not have a directness about them. And so that creates its own issue as well, because then they'll agree to do something with you. And I know y'all probably had one of those friends where they'll agree, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And then when things start going wrong, it's, see, I already knew we shouldn't have did that. I already knew that if y'all would have listened to me first, then X, Y, Z. No, y'all stop doing that shit too. Excuse my language, but come on, work it out. Y'all almost started singing. All right, so number 4 is passive aggressive. Well, no, that was 3. Sorry. So did that. So the last one, passive aggressive, before I move on. These people are aware of their needs, but they have a struggle trying to find their voice. And of course, a lot of this deals with people who are used to people pleasing, or people who deal with parents who minimize how they feel, minimize what they think, makes them believe that their voice is invalid. And so they have to work through that. So with all of these things, there's some work that needs to be done. And it's about trying to find a better balance, if you want to use the word, a better balance within your own communication skills. And that's fine. It comes over time, but you have to be aware of it, number 1. Number 2, you have to accept it. And then number 3, you have to make some specific choices in order to make some changes. So like I said, the last one, the 4th skill. So let me go through these quickly again. Number 1 was passive. 2 was aggressive. 3 was passive aggressive. The 4th one is assertive. So assertive communication skills. Let me read this verbatim for you. So for the most part, they have an open communication style. They try not to be overbearing, right? They express what they need. They express their desires, maybe their ideas and feelings, but they also consider other people's needs as well. Assertive communicator aims for both sides to win in a situation, balancing one wins with the right of others. And so the key here when you're being assertive is using I words. So what I do in my classroom when I'm dealing with the kids is I say I think and I feel. At least when we get started out, that's how I try to teach them how to communicate. Because a lot of times what happens is we come from different backgrounds. We come from different home settings and different teaching styles from other teachers. And when you come into the classroom, I want them to know, right, that they have an opportunity to use their voice, and their voice will be heard. However, right, there's some expectations that have to be laid out, and there are some non-negotiables that are here as well. So usually, like I say, I'll communicate. I say, hey, let me tell you what I think first. So I think that we know how to act in school. I think that we know how to complete our work and get it turned in. I think that we can do X, Y, and Z. And then I asked them, is there anything wrong with my thinking? And I'm telling y'all, this might not be all the time. Especially, this is something really good to introduce communication, different communicative ways to, especially with children, that with adults too. Cause sometimes you got to talk to adults like that too. Like, I think you trying to play me like a fool. I think you think I'm stupid. Because, and then you can spell it out for them, and then say, so is this true or not? You might want to take out you think I'm stupid. I don't know. You do what you want to do, what feels right to you. Okay. But you do need a person, you do need to make sure that the person understands your thought process a little bit, because we all have different backgrounds. Once we get that together and we're on a clear playing field mentally, then I bring in the emotions. Okay, well, this is how I feel. Since now that I understand that you know what to do as far as work is concerned, you know how to act and how to behave, now I feel as though you're trying to play me like a fool, right? And when I say that, I mean X, Y, and Z. And then I give examples of what the issue is. And I say, so how are we going to resolve this? And let's make this communicative. Let's make it a community thing, because maybe there's some disconnect and we need to figure that out first, so that we can then build a bridge in order to get to what the expectation is. And of course, like I said, these same skills that I'm giving you right now, you do your I statements, right? I think, I feel, I believe. And then we turn it into a we process, right? Or you even ask them, what do you think? What do you want? What do you believe? Just to get yourselves on an even playing field, put all the cards on the table, and then we move forward. And so these are just little tips of the trick of the trade, tools of the trade. I don't know, y'all. However it goes. So those are your four. Again, let me go through it. 4 communication styles. You have passive, you have aggressive, you have passive aggressive, and then you have assertive. One of the easiest things that I can say is that if it is unclear, there's a problem. If it is clear, then we can straighten it out. We can fix the issue. So make things as clear as possible for you and the others that are involved, especially when it comes to communication. And I definitely know that a lot of people hate assertive communication, but guess what? It's going to help you out in the long run. I don't care where I've been in, especially when it comes to work and you're dealing with emails. When you are running your own business, when you are working with other adults, when you're working with children, if you are assertive, you know what it is that you want. You know what you do not want. You are clear with what it is that you want, and you know what that looks like for yourself first. Then it's easy to help others to see how these things align and do not align. And then we can all get on the same path. Because outside of that, like I said, it's unclear. There's no vision for the group. We can't move forward. All right. So now that we've gone through those, now you have within communication, you have non-communication types. Yes, this is what used to get me in trouble when I was passive aggressive and passive and aggressive. I really wasn't too aggressive, y'all. Until I got real mad. Big mad. When I was big mad, she was a lioness, honey. She was ripping off heads. And the heads, what I'm talking about? Sorry. All right, so nonverbal communication skills or types. So these are going to be your facial expressions that used to get me in trouble or caught up. These will be your gestures, your paralinguistics. So this is like your sounds, your tone of your voice, that's it. Paralinguistic is the sound and the tone of your voice, the loudness, right? The vibrato. Somebody else gave me a new word on TikTok. I can't remember what it was, but pretty much it's like the pacing of your voice as well. It's not inflection, y'all, because I know that word. It was a new word. I love new words. I just thought the comment was rude. And like I told y'all, if y'all don't like something, it's okay. It really is. But if you have a question, down below in the comment section is where it should go. And I appreciate y'all. So anyway, going back to it, other things that are nonverbal is your body language, your proximity, personal space, right? Eye gazing, your touch. Oh yeah, this a new word too for me. I might pronounce it wrong, so let me spell it first. It's HAPTICS. Haptis? I don't know. I'm not going to keep trying it. HAPTICS, which means touch. I learned that today. So I'm going to put that in my word bank so I can use it later, you know. Also, also your appearance, and artifacts. And so when I think of artifacts, you know, of course, when you are communicating, some people communicate with, um, you know, usually when you say artifact, you think something dug up out the ground or whatever. But it could also be like if you communicate with, let's say, your fingers, a pointer, you have any type of photos, whatever it may be. Some people do that. And remember, because communication deals with symbols. And what was the other one that she said? Y'all, Miss Webster be getting it together. Symbols, signs. And of course, that would include your behavior, right? So you have both your verbal or your, verbal and nonverbal communication skills. So that's just to give you the bare basic, you guys. What I did want to talk about is that that's all my notes, right? Yeah. All right. I had to make sure I cover my notes, y'all. Y'all know I don't stray too far from them. But what I did want to do is I wanted to talk about communication skills a little bit. Communication is very important, you guys. And if you are struggling to communicate, there's a couple things that you can do, right? Number one, let me back up. I don't even want to do that. What I want to say is sometimes you think you're communicating properly. You think you're trying to get a point across, and a lot of times you're not, because you are not satisfied and you don't understand what it is that you really want. And I had to come y'all and have this real conversation because, especially for women, I see it all the time where women are like, well, I want X, Y, and Z. I want a man who would do this, that, and the third. I want this, I want that. And that ain't what you want. It's not. That's why you ain't got it. And I mean no disrespect by this at all. I'm telling you based off of experience. And I'm telling you based off of what I consistently see over and over again. I see it in children. I see it in adults. I see it in old folks. Elderly. However you want to do it. It's still adults. You get what I'm saying? But I've taken a long look and I've seen it. I've sat and watched 4 generations, including myself, say one thing, right? Wanting one thing, been told to desire one thing, and that's really not what you want. And then when you sit there and you get something similar to it, you kind of just be like, ugh, I don't know if this is for me, because that's not what you want. Or you're improperly communicating these things with yourself and with others. Excuse me. Excuse me. So one of the things is that let's start off with children, okay? Because that's what I'm gonna be talking about in a couple days, tomorrow. 9 times out of 10, you may not have been taught how to properly communicate. So that's why you yell and you bark orders at your kids. Or that's why you're trying to be too soft and too fragile. And you're not being very assertive with your kids because you did not like how other people bark orders at you. Well, you need to figure out what you need to do to heal first and then go through that healing process so that you are providing yourself with what it is that you need. So until you can write out, and I say write out because we can think that we want something, we can think that we need something, that we deserve something, and when we get it, we mishandle it because we don't even notice that we have what we want, right? And that's a problem. So the easiest way, and I learned this when I was really young, right? The easiest way to start noticing that you have exactly what you want, that you have exactly what you've been talking about, is to write out what it is that you've been talking about. Write out what you're asking for so that when you receive it, you look at that same sheet of paper and be like, dang, I got it. Because we are, as a totality of people, we are misunderstanding, or we are not seeing that everything we are asking for, we have it. Everything. And I know you'll be like, well, I ain't got the money that I want because my bills and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, but I'm sure it was something that you done purchased that you probably shouldn't have purchased. Let that sit in. I'm sure that you done went out a night where you probably should have stayed in. I'm sure that you done bought your kids something that you felt that they just really needed and they didn't. I'm sure that there's a bill that's coming up that maybe on your credit card statement of something that you could have done without, that you probably don't even know where it's at, right? So we're mismanaging our energy, we're mismanaging our communication, we're mismanaging our gifts, and we're mismanaging the gratitude of being able to say, yeah, that did show up for me, because we're not seeing it properly. And somebody need that. Somebody need to know that everything that you have asked for, you have it, and you have it in overflow. But you're so busy looking at what you don't have, right? And trying to figure out how you can get the next thing, that you're not appreciating what has already shown up and shown out for you. So the first step, like I said, is to figure out exactly what it is that you truly want and need for yourself first. Because if you don't start fixing you and working on you, you're going to always have problems. Because you're going to always be pouring into somebody else that energy, that love, that money, that thought that you should have been giving to yourself. And you're going to always sit there and feel drained and be, oh, you know what? This person did me this way. Why? Because you allowed it. Because you're improperly communicating with yourself on what it is that you desire, what you need, what you would like, what you want. So start writing it down. That's number one. And as you create those lists and that for yourself, you can start really sitting there and checking it off. If you want your kids to behave a certain way, well, first let's make sure that you are acting a certain way. Because guess what? That communication, remember I told you, it's not just verbal. It's actually what's being seen. It's behavioral. So if you're sitting up there and you're saying you want your kids to behave a certain way, are you showing them how to do that? And I pause because it's needed. Are you showing your child how to respond in certain situations? Or do you always just pop off and then you get mad because your kids don't listen to you, they defile what you say, they don't respect your words because you don't respect your words. You don't respect yourself. I don't even want to go no further. My spirit said I'm done. So I'm done. So I might come to y'all another day with something else, but that's some food for thought because my spirit was like, that's it. So, all right, y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all later. I know it ended abruptly, but hey, I'll be back tomorrow.